Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Well, it's a funny thing happened, but you might recall in a video or two ago I said that when I do street photography, I prefer a smaller camera, which is true. I do prefer a smaller camera. A lot of people prefer smaller cameras for street photography. If you watch George Holden's channel, he's over in the UK, he just put up a video, I'll link to it in the description, talking essentially just saying you don't need a full frame camera to do street photography, which is true. However, a situation arose just last week where I was going to do some street photography and I decided to actually, instead of taking my GX9 with the little 12 to 32 millimeter kit zoom, which by the way, and I am, a commenter asked about that, just asked me to do a video about this lens, which that's something I'm planning on doing. Got some images, just got to work on getting that. That's probably going to be the second one that I do from this one going forward. So instead of taking that one, I took the S5 Mark II, which I'm filming on right now with the 45 millimeter Sigma, the f2 2.8 Sigma lens, which I love. It's a great little lens. That lens takes me back to when I started out with a 50 millimeter kit lens on a Canon film body. I'll do a video about that lens too in the future. But why did I choose to take the S5 Mark II and the 20 millimeter to 200 millimeter Sigma lens? Well, it got cold. And a larger camera like this G9 Mark II, which is going to kind of fill in for the S5 Mark II that I'm filming on, because essentially they're the same body, just different sensors. Easier to use in the cold. If you're wearing gloves, it's just easier to deal with this than it is with this. So there's a good reason to maybe use a larger camera when it gets really cold. I have fingerless gloves but there's a point at which those are, your fingers get too cold. So then you got to put on some heavy duty gloves, and having a camera that's fairly easy to use with gloves on is cool. There are gloves that have like fingerless gloves and then they have a cover that comes over, which I need to look into getting a pair of those, because those are pretty nice for photography. But there is another reason when it's cold to use a larger camera body, and that is surface area to volume ratio. So what's that? Well, that's if you figure out what the surface area of a camera is and what the volume, what the space inside the camera. This camera has a smaller surface area to volume ratio than this camera does. So this camera is not going to cool off as fast as this camera, which means the battery's not going to cool off as fast as in this camera. And if your battery gets cold, they die pretty quickly, right? So why is that? I mean, you might have taken a physics class and remember this from physics, but it may be counterintuitive that this has a lower surface area to volume ratio than this does. A little quick demonstration using the GX9 battery, which also is about any GX camera. I think Lumix GX camera uses this battery. The LX100 series uses this battery. The ZS200 and ZS100 cameras that I used to have uses this battery. So it's a pretty common battery for smaller Lumix bodies. So if you look at these two batteries, and I haven't measured them, so I don't know what the volume of these batteries is, but it really doesn't matter. It's pretty simple to see why once something gets larger, it has a lower surface area to volume ratio, and that's just by doing this. Put these two batteries together, and now you'll notice that these two faces, one face on each battery, is no longer exposed to the outside world. So this has a lower surface area to volume ratio than these two batteries do on their own. Another way to visualize that is like visualize a cube of dimension 1 by 1 by 1. Units don't matter, inches, centimeters, whatever you like. If you take a cube like that, You look at its surface area to volume ratio, well, it's got 6 sides, right? So that's 6, the volume's 1, it's the surface area to volume ratio of 6. Now, if you take 8 of those cubes and stack them so that you have 4 by 4 by 4 cubes, now you got 8 cubes, right? And you have 6 sides, 4 cube faces on a side. 4 times 6 is 24, right? 24 divided by 8 is 3. So you've gone from that 1 cube having a surface area to volume ratio of 6 to the bigger cube having a surface area to volume ratio of 3. So that's why heat dissipates slower out of a larger volume than a smaller volume of camera, cubes, whatever you think. Humans, animals. I mean, if you know, you go out with a little child in the cold, and the child will get cold really quickly, whereas an adult will not. And it's also applicable to biology. So if you take a species that individuals live from, say, the temperate zones all the way up to the Arctic or the other side of the world down to the Antarctic, what you'll find is the individuals on average are larger the closer to the pole you get. Good example around here is the American robin. There's still a bunch of them around here. People think they all fly south for the winter. They don't. We have these forest reserves with lots and lots of berries and stuff in them, so the robins hang around. But if you look at robins down here as opposed to, let's just say, way up in Canada, getting close to the tundra, you'll find that the individuals up there are on average larger than individuals here. And it's just surface area to volume ratio. The individuals that are larger tend to do better the closer to the pole you get. So kind of a mix of photography and science, physics, and so on. But that really is why I took the S5 Mark II, because it was really pretty chilly. And the interesting thing about it was that nobody really paid much attention. People were busy shopping. I had maybe a couple people kind of look and go, ooh, what's that guy doing? Had a police officer come up. He was very nice. He said, "Hi, sir, how are you doing?" And I kind of was like, he wants to know he's checking me out. So I was very upfront with him, told him I was a photojournalist out here in the western suburbs, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he, went on his way. A lot of police there. They, really want to tamp down on some of the issues they've had there for a while, but cops all over the place and being very friendly, kind of goodwill ambassadors for the city, so that's cool. So anyway, that's it. If this was interesting to you, pop the like button. That's a big help to me. And any questions, comments, leave them down below. I'm Todd Banner. I'll see you in the next video.